Welcome to today's Explainer. So, we're tackling a challenge that almost every educational institution, research center, and academic expert faces at some point. You know the scenario. You've got this incredible, highly specialized knowledge, but how do you actually package it? How do you deliver it? And crucially, turn it into a self-sustaining ecosystem? Well, today, we are going to look at a highly dynamic framework that answers exactly that. It's called the Knowledge Management, or KM, Model Canvas. And we're going to look at it through a really specific lens today, phonetics instruction. We're going to see exactly how deep, specialized linguistic expertise can literally be transformed from, dusty academic papers into a vibrant, revenue-generating educational service. Let's get into it. Our whole journey today really relies on this one complete blueprint. If you look at it, it's essentially split into two parts. You've got a static business canvas at the top and a dynamic, continuous engine at the bottom. The top half kind of borrows from traditional business modeling, right? It outlines exactly who we're serving, the value we bring, the partners we need, and how we actually measure success. But the bottom half? That is where the real academic magic happens. That circular flow is the continuous learning loop. It proves that knowledge isn't just some product you sell once. No, it's a living, breathing cycle that improves every single time you deliver it. So throughout this explainer, we're going to dissect both halves of this model so you can understand exactly how to build this engine for your own specific area of expertise. So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the knowledge to income concept. Second, we'll step inside the KM canvas. Third, we'll look at measuring success and growth. And fourth, we'll wrap up with the continuous learning loop. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the knowledge to income concept. The fundamental transformation happening here is taking raw phonetics knowledge, think of it kind of like unrefined oil, and refining it into a new standard that builds a university's expert image, all while creating brand new revenue streams. Think about the field of phonetics for a second. It involves understanding the precise, physical sounds of human speech. It's highly technical, deeply academic, and, let's be honest, often confined to university linguistics departments. But out in the real world, proper pronunciation and phonetic understanding are massive pain points for language learners and teachers alike. So this value proposition bridges that exact gap. It says, hey, we aren't just going to hoard this knowledge. We're going to refine it, standardize it into a highly effective curriculum, and use it to not only generate income, but also to establish our institution as the absolute gold standard in phonetic training. It is a win for the institution's brand, a win for their financial sustainability, and honestly, a massive win for the end learner. Moving on to Section 2, inside the KM canvas. Now, we aren't just targeting anyone here. We have a laser-focused audience. Primary English teachers, ed students, and both public and private education agencies who desperately need this specialized training. You see, when academic institutions try to commercialize knowledge, they almost always make the mistake of trying to sell to everyone. This blueprint, however, is brilliantly specific. By targeting primary school English teachers, you're intervening at the absolute foundation of language education. I mean, if a primary teacher understands phonetics, hundreds of their students are going to benefit over the years. And by targeting education students, you're equipping the next generation of teachers before they even step foot in a classroom. Finally, engaging with education agencies taps directly into organizational budgets that are specifically designed for professional development. It's just a perfectly segmented, high-leverage audience. But of course, to actually reach that highly specific audience, we rely on strategic key partners. We're talking about local administrative organizations and educational service area offices to really amplify our reach and validate the service. Look, you cannot operate an academic service in a vacuum. If a university just sets up a website and crosses their fingers hoping teachers will show up, they are probably going to fail. But by partnering with network schools and English teachers associations, you gain instant credibility. Plus, you get direct access to your target audience. These partners essentially act as a distribution channel for your knowledge. They have the administrative power and the network to organize large cohorts of teachers for training, which makes your marketing and recruitment efforts so much more efficient. Okay, let's dive into the plumbing of the operation. Our main activities involve hands-on workshops and coaching, all fueled by intellectual capital, like phonetics experts and modern learning management systems. The delivery of this knowledge is absolutely not passive. We're not talking about a recorded lecture here. The key activities highlight interactive workshops and intensive coaching. Phonetics is a physical auditory skill, right? It requires practice, correction, and real-time feedback. And I really want you to notice the inclusion of the AAR, the after-action review. This means immediately after teaching, the team sits down to analyze exactly what worked and what didn't. To pull all these activities off, you need serious resources.
This is where your human capital, those amazing phonetics experts, combine with structured assets like training manuals and a modern LMS to track everyone's progress. It really is the perfect marriage of deep human expertise and scalable technology.
All right, section 3, measuring success and growth.
This model relies on a really delicate balance. On one side, we ensure educational impact through test scores and satisfaction, while simultaneously ensuring financial sustainability through service revenue and the sheer volume of attendees. I want you to really focus on this dichotomy because it is the absolute secret to sustainable academic enterprise. If you only focus on the left side, the learning, well, you might have a wonderful program that eventually just runs out of funding and dies. But if you only focus on the right side, the income, you might compromise your academic integrity and lose your reputation entirely. This framework forces you to track both. You have to prove that the training actually works by measuring pre- and post-test score increases, and participants have to be satisfied. But at the exact time, you must be tracking revenue, attendance, and, crucially for knowledge management, the development of new curricula. It holds the mission and the margin in perfect tension. Which brings us to a really pivotal question. We have the blueprint, but how do we keep this model growing forever? A canvas is great, sure, but it's just a snapshot in time. The real world changes. Customer needs evolve. Language teaching methodologies advance. If we just rely on the static snapshot we've discussed so far, our service is eventually going to become obsolete. We need a motor.
And that leads us to section 4, the continuous learning loop.
This continuous loop is literally the heartbeat of the entire knowledge management model. The journey begins by identifying a real pain point, gathering the necessary knowledge, developing a curriculum, executing the training, and, crucially, conducting an after-action review to see what worked. Let's walk through this a bit. It all starts with step 1. The pain point. You don't start with what you want to teach. You start with what the customer needs to solve, like primary teachers struggling to teach English vowel sounds. Step 2 is gathering knowledge, where your experts synthesize the latest phonetic research to address that exact pain. Step 3 is developing the curriculum, formatting that research into a really digestible learning package. Then, step 4 is conducting the actual training, those workshops and coaching sessions we talked about earlier. But step 5, that is the absolute linchpin. The AAR, or After Action Review. This isn't just handing out a quick survey at the end of a class. No, it's a rigorous internal process where the educators sit down and say, okay, where did the student struggle? Was Chapter 3 too confusing? Did our coaching method fail? This honest evaluation is the gateway to the second half of the loop. So that AAR process allows us to extract lessons, refine the service, deliver it at scale to generate income, and ultimately create a brand new knowledge body, which loops right back to solving new pain points. Following the AAR, step 6 is extracting those hard-fought lessons. Step 7 is actively improving and refining the curriculum based on that real-world feedback. By the time you hit step 8, you are providing a vastly superior academic service. This refined, highly effective service naturally leads to step 9, generating income, as more and more schools and agencies want to buy your proven program. But it doesn't stop with the money. Step 10 is the ultimate academic goal, creating a new knowledge body. Because you have just tested phonetic theory in the real world with real teachers, you now have new data, new insights, and new research. You've literally generated new academic knowledge, which then equips you to identify the next pain point, starting the whole cycle all over again. It is a beautifully elegant, never-ending spiral of improvement, impact, and income. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought to consider for your own institution or area of expertise. We've seen how phonetics can be extracted from the university, packaged into a targeted curriculum, validated through key partnerships, measured through balanced KPIs, and driven forward forever by a continuous learning loop. The framework is right here. The canvas is drawn, the engine is built. So look around your own department, your own business, or your own skill set. What hidden academic knowledge do you have sitting idle, just waiting for the right model to turn it into a continuous cycle of income and impact? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I highly encourage you to start sketching out your own knowledge management canvas today. Keep learning, keep refining, and I'll catch you on the next one.